Batman issue 2, legacy number 930. Matt Fraction writing with Jorge Jimenez on the art. So, yeah, we ended last issue with the call from Tim saying he was in trouble. This issue goes a little bit before that to set that up, and see like why he's in trouble with the police in this alleyway. But we start with a flashback though to when Bruce started training Tim how to drive, because hey, you're going to drive the Batmobile someday. You're not learning in that though. You're learning in this crappy old truck, because you have to learn with something a bit more. I was gonna say small. A truck's not exactly small relative to most cars, but compared to the Batmobile, it's on the smaller side.
You mean the Batmo?
We're not calling it that. I agree with Batman on this. We're never calling it that.
yeah. I didn't like that either, but I thought it made for a fun joke.
Yeah. Also, it's a bit vague as to exactly how far in the past this is, but you would assume, a little bit ago, because Damien's just being a little shit and like spraying him with the hose when he's washing the Batmobile. So I'm like, okay, this feels like Damien's maybe new in this flashback.
Early into their relationship with Damien, like he knows he can't kill people anymore. He's still hanging around, but he hasn't learned how to be a proper young gentleman yet. So
yeah, well, there is that moment though where Tim's struggling to deal with the car and get it going, and Damien jumps on the top of it and like says, enough of this, you're a loser, father, let me try. And Bruce actually tells him to like stall the engine to make Damien go flying, and I thought that was a fun little moment. It was like, hey, Damien can take this. He deserves a little bit of comeuppance for being a little shit.
That is parenting 101 right there. Yeah. You gotta have your kids learn to fight their own battles.
Yeah, the main part of this issue though is that basically these thieves are robbing a truck. One of them gets overzealous and shoots the driver. So immediately it's like, okay, bad guys. Tim shows up to fight them, and starts tracking them down. However, it gets interrupted when two police officers show up, and the police officers decide to just open fire on the suspects, even though they're just running away. To which Tim is like, hey, what the hell? Why are you firing shots? They're running away. And he's like, well, we've been told to treat running away suspects as hostile and use any means necessary. So a big part of this issue is really setting up the idea that the police under Vandal Savage are getting a bit more ruthless. They're getting more trigger happy. And then, of course, as the book continues through the issue, you get the sense that also they're very anti-Batman and Robin right now. And by the end, that's like sort of set in stone, because when Tim throws down a smoke pellet and starts jumping to get away, the cop shoots him and he falls and is put in the back of the van with all the other people they've arrested that night. So we actually get a really fun sequence here where Tim is fighting, even though he's wounded, with a bunch of people in the van, and the cops up front are just like swerving around corners to try and like make it tougher for him. They're enjoying making his life miserable.
Well, and one of them's like, are you really gonna do this to him? He's a kid, he's handcuffed, those other guys aren't. And then he's like, yeah, and watch this, and he starts doing the swerving and stuff too. So everything's very much on purpose from these guys.
Well, we should probably point out from one of them, like, because there's the one who's the hothead who's shooting, who's swerving the car. The other one keeps kind of being like, really? like, are you doing
what
this?
What are we doing?
Yeah, because later on when they get to like a sort of a standoff, he's kind of like on Robin's side at a certain point. But Robin breaks free though of his handcuffs, and like, everyone gets knocked out, and ultimately Batman puts out some because Fraction's doing that thing where he's doing the little captions for the all the bat tech. So earlier on we got it for the smoke pellet, and we got it for his fancy boots that have got some
electromagnetic stuff in them.
Yeah, to help with the leaping and all that. So we get the bat spikes, which is just what would you call it, the road spikes.
They're the road spikes. They wheel out during a chase.
Yeah, So
it's the one thing that can bring the fast guys down, right?
Yeah, so it's like
I've never seen them. Yeah.
It's a good halfway or so through the issue, and Batman's finally shown up and taken made the truck stop, and the trigger happy cop pulls out his shotgun and starts making demands, and it gets into a tense situation where the other cop pulls out his gun and points at his partner and says, "What are we doing here?" So we get this moment where they both end up firing. Batman jumps in front of Robin to shield him. with his cape, but
Mm-hmm.
both cops have been hit. Right, they're both down. Like, you know, the better cops like got a wound. The shotgun cop's like wounded because his partner hit him. And then the big moment comes when Batman turns to see if he can help the other cop. The shotgun guy reaches for his shotgun, and we get a great panel in silhouette of him shooting Batman in the back of the head with a shotgun. Now, his cowl, his armor, you know, does protect him, but it's obviously a nasty like thud to the back of the head, so it feels quite violent anyway, even if it's not like a you know, an actual gunshot like killing thing.
He's still getting a concussion. I think that's still blunt force trauma to the skull. You know, not good for Bruce.
Oh, for sure. And obviously, like, as soon as this started playing out and, like, Tim drags him away and, like, they go to the car and this pays off with the flashbacks of him learning to drive as he has to drive back the Batmobile back to the house or whatever, is... As soon as this was playing out, I'm like, okay, I can kind of see what the ending of this issue is going to be. I kind of predicted it, which is they're going to blame this, like, you know, the shooting of these officers on Batman and Robin, right? They're going to, because they fled the scene of the crime. Look, you know, Batman's attacked the vehicle. They're going to like make them look like the villains here. And sure enough, that's how the issue ends, with Vandal Savage doing a press conference, holding up a batarang covered in blood and saying, yes, these vigilantes did this. They are now the enemy of the GCPD. And it sets all this stuff up. You know, I think this was another really good issue of this book. I think this runs off to a good start. It's really furthering the central theme that they're going for, which is that, you know, the most of the police force is against Batman and Robin right now. That Vandal Savage is really making them out to be villains. And this issue sold you that in multiple ways. It sold you that they're willing to shoot at Robin. You know, this one's really trigger happy, tries to shoot at Batman's head, and then it leaves them in this situation where they're now they've got propaganda against them to kind of like, you know, cart out and try and turn the public against them. So, you know, it feels like it's set up a lot of stuff for the run, like a lot of status quo stuff of like, this is what the vibe is in Gotham right now. And I'm sure once we see Gordon again, he's obviously going to be like very against all the rest of the force on this.
Yeah. Definitely, it definitely feels like a Gotham of old where the police are they're given carte blanche to do whatever they want, right? As long as Savage is okay with it, you know, they can kind of do whatever. Because he even says, like, you know, with the reporters that are on the scene, he goes, break their cameras, break their jaws, right? So it's just like, it's an utter ruthlessness out of him now. And yeah, the entire, you know, scene too is, no one threw a batarang, right? There's nothing. So like, Savage is going out of his way to formulate issues, right? Like there's already a distrust of Batman. We've always had that with the police, but now making it look like he's actively harming cops instead of trying to stop them from harming each other. You know, like it really is the next step. So I really did like that. Yeah,
no. I think the art obviously is pretty fantastic as well. Jimenez does a great job. I love all the panels of Tim driving the Batmobile and yelling about all the gears, and Batman's like, oh yeah, there's a 13 secret gear. I can't tell you what that does. Like, that was amusing to me. Yeah, my only critique with the art is that there's a few times where Tim's face is a little veering into manga territory, which I don't love, but it's hard to complain much though, because Jimenez's art does look generally fantastic. I love the coloring; it's really bold. Still digging Batman's sort of fresh take on the costume. No, it feels like it's got a real direction and focus, which I appreciate. Sometimes you read a run from a new team and it's kind of like, okay, they're doing stories, but it doesn't really feel like it's building to anything. This feels like there's a direction in mind for where this is all going.
And it doesn't fully feel like episodic. It just feels like we're dropping into a night with Batman and Robin, right? Like, this is just what's happening on this night. And, you know, the next issue might not follow up on exactly these, but those themes will still be there. Yeah. You know, so I do like that it's going off of the vibe.
Even if it doesn't focus on this next issue, I guarantee there'll be at least one scene where we get see a cop react to Batman or something. You know, something to keep it bubbling as things go on.
And then you're talking about the scene where Tim's driving the Batmobile with Bruce, and everything has this blue shading on it, and then his Robin suit is just the red, and it just sticks out, and it does this really pleasing thing with the colors here, where there's a little spot of red throughout, and yeah, it's just it's really competent art. I'm a big fan of how this turned out.
Yeah, and also of course we got the introduction to Tim in the last issue, and then Damien's in this one. I appreciate that it feels like, you know, like, I mean, I don't know if we'll go through everyone, but sometimes when you get to like a run of a certain hero, it sometimes feels like the team wants to ignore X number of characters that they just don't want to address. I like that both Tim and Damien have both popped up already in here, and you know, there's probably no one off the table, I imagine, going forward, but certainly I like just the kind of the casualness of like, and it's not necessarily a case of like, oh, they're both going to be like secondary main characters where they're always going to be around. I'm sure they'll sort of dip in and out, but I like just kind of like, oh no, like, because I think when they introduced Tim, I was like, okay, it's cool that Tim's getting a bit of a spotlight because he's not been the Robin in the spotlight for a while. But I appreciate, because I think I assumed that, oh, that means it's probably just going to be Tim. They're probably going to ignore a lot of the other Bat family for at least this arc. And then it's like, no, there's Damien already. All right, fair enough. You know, no complaints. So, no, very good. Solid second issue. Excited to see where they go with this. Matt, what are you giving Batman issue 2?
I'm going to give this an 8.5.
I know it's boring to just keep agreeing with you, but I actually think I agree with that. Like, I don't know if I want to go up to the 9, but I do think it's a very, very tight issue. I like that by focusing on Tim and like getting that, you know, because that obviously one of the standout panels is when he gets shot. There's that silhouette of him just falling down the fire escape to the alleyway. Like, you know, it spends time with him. It spends time with like how he's facing like these cops that are getting too trigger happy, and then obviously Batman coming in to sort of save the day. Normally that'd be it, but then Batman gets shot in the back of the head, and it kind of shows just how brazen they're getting. So I like how big a deal it makes it feel that these cops are just firing at them willy-nilly.